Let's jump right in. Imagine this. You're married to someone you absolutely, genuinely love. You laugh together, you travel together, you sleep next to each other every single night. And then, one day, you realize something terrifying. We're diving straight into a deeply relatable and, frankly, pretty scary cautionary tale about marriage. In today's Explainer, this is the anatomy of a quiet breakup. This is Evelyn's story.
You didn't lose them. You trained them to stop loving you. Just let that heavy realization sink in for a second, right? Because if we aren't careful, the relationship dynamics we're about to explore might look uncomfortably familiar to some of us.
Okay, so let's look at how things started, the before. Back in the beginning, everything for Evelyn and her husband David was just easy. There were zero games, no strategies, no overthinking, just pure, effortless connection. Picture this. It's a Saturday morning. Evelyn's in the kitchen making pancakes wearing one of David's oversized t-shirts. Music's playing. She's dancing around like an idiot, as you do. David walks up behind her, wraps his arms around her waist, kisses her neck. She turns around and, well, yeah, the pancakes burn. But they end up just laughing in bed, eating this half-ruined food and not caring at all. That was their normal. Effortless, natural, completely alive.
But then the dynamic shifted. Enter Rachel. Rachel was a friend who had just gone through a really brutal divorce. We're talking 18 months of fighting, resentment, the whole shebang. And she brought with her this brand new worldview. Marriage isn't love. No, marriage is a negotiation. It's about power, control, leverage. She started inviting Evelyn to these weekly book club nights. But, they weren't really about books at all. They were actually about analyzing husbands, tracking their effort, and talking about emotional labor like it was some kind of corporate business transaction. One night, Rachel pulls Evelyn aside and says something that, honestly, sounded smart on the surface, but was actually pure poison. She said, "You're too available for your husband. Men don't value what they get for free." At first, Evelyn just kind of laughed it off, but the seed was planted, right? That insidious little idea just stuck right there in the back of her mind.
So she decided to test it out. One night, David tries to initiate, and she simply says, "I'm tired." And he backs off. A few days later, he completely cleans the house, brings her wine, plans dinner out, and that night, she says yes. It clicks in her head. Oh, if I withhold, he tries harder. She inadvertently created this totally new system. Withhold affection, track his effort, use intimacy as a reward, enforced rejection for failure. Didn't help enough around the house? I'm too stressed. Went out with friends? Not in the mood. Over time, she completely falsely disguised this behavior to herself as empowerment. She called it setting boundaries and having self-respect.
Think about that stark contrast for a minute. The effortless, natural connection of burnt pancakes and laughing was slowly, methodically replaced by a system of power, control, and transactional leverage. Without even really realizing it, Evelyn was literally turning intimacy into a business transaction.
Let's trace how this actually played out over time. At first, in those early days, David responded exactly how you'd expect. He tried harder, more effort, more attention. But then, as weeks turned into months, something subtle started happening. He stopped the casual touch. No random hugs in the kitchen, no spontaneous affection. He actually started asking for permission. "Can I kiss you? Is this okay?" And tragically, Evelyn thought, wow, this is respect. But it wasn't respect at all. It was hesitation. He was constantly walking on eggshells. Which brings us to the very end of the timeline. Then came the night everything just quietly broke. David leaned in and gently kissed her shoulder. Nothing aggressive, nothing demanding, just love. And Evelyn, without even looking at him, delivered this absolutely devastating rejection. She said, "I'm not in the mood to perform for you." Perform. That specific word hit so much harder than she could have ever realized. And here is the most chilling part of the whole thing. David didn't argue. He didn't get upset. He didn't even try again. He just said, "Okay," and turned around. That was the absolute last time he ever tried. There was no fight, there was no drama, no big explosion, just silence. In the aftermath, David drastically changed. If you looked at him on the outside, he was on this massive physical upward spiral. He's going to the gym, picking up new hobbies, seeing friends. He looked healthier and way more focused. But underneath all of that, he was in a complete emotional downward spiral. He was getting way, way further away emotionally. He became completely detached. He simply stopped noticing her.
No compliments, no reactions, zero desire. At first, Evelyn actually felt kind of relieved by the lack of pressure. But soon, the panic set in. She dressed up. Nothing. She tried everything. Lingerie, romantic dinners, putting in real, actual effort. And when she finally tried to initiate, David gave her this agonizing response. He just looked at her and said, "Maybe this weekend." Her own dismissive line used right back against her. It didn't matter what she did, because the problem wasn't attraction anymore. It was something much deeper that she just did not see coming. One night, she picks up his phone. A message from his friend had popped up, asking how he was holding up. And David's response is absolutely gut-wrenching. He wrote, "Better, actually. I stopped hoping. And now I feel peaceful." Peaceful. Just let that sink in. He didn't hate her. He wasn't angry. The chilling reality was that he had just stopped caring. When Evelyn finally confronted him, he didn't yell. He didn't blame her. He didn't even sound emotional. He just very calmly delivered this line. "I didn't give up on us. I gave up on begging someone to want me." It is a haunting reminder of a dynamic nobody really talks about. People don't always leave loudly. Sometimes they leave quietly, while still living in the exact same house. And this brings us to the tragic irony of Evelyn's story. The unintended lesson. Evelyn thought she had control. She thought she was setting boundaries. But what she was really doing with her attempt at leverage was successfully training her husband to believe one devastating thing: you are not wanted. And eventually, he believed it. So let's break down exactly why this happened. Here are the harsh psychological truths about relationship dynamics that we absolutely must understand. Number 1, attraction does not survive in a system of rewards and punishments. You literally cannot treat intimacy like leverage. It just doesn't work. Number 2, desire cannot grow where it feels unwanted. And number 3, nobody chases forever. No matter how much someone loves you, if they are constantly met with rejection, they will eventually stop trying. The crucial point I really want you to take away from this explainer is this: the true danger isn't anger, it's calm. The most dangerous moment in any relationship isn't when someone gets angry. The death knell of a marriage isn't a screaming match. It's the quiet moment when they stop trying, look at you, say, "It's okay," and actually mean it. Because once that switch flips, it is almost impossible to flip it back. As we wrap up today, I want to leave you with the direct challenge. And I really want you to ask yourself honestly, are you building connection, or are you playing control games and just calling it self-respect? Take a moment to evaluate the dynamics in your own life. Thanks for diving into this explainer with me today.